All right. Howdy, y'all. Good Lord. I love being able to go live on YouTube from a fellow town. Well, I obviously am back from MDX. Gonna try to go through this quickly, but I'm not the greatest at just coming up with things off the top of my... No, I am good at that. It's just that my brain has been so fried since this weekend that I am not good at it currently. So, I didn't leave Kentucky till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I got home at 3 a.m. my time. I drove through an insane storm for like a half hour, which was maybe the scariest storm I've ever driven through. I was going like 10 miles an hour at one point in time. Barely could see. But that is just nothing compared to what I went through in the deep south side of Chicago. By far the scariest. Well, I don't know. I was trapped in between big rocks at Devil's Lake for 45 minutes where I thought for sure I was going to die. But that was when I was 12 years old, so I don't really have a whole lot of base on what scary is related to that. Well, I don't know. I thought I was going to die for sure both times. But, I mean, like, south of whatever, where the White Sox play, I mean, it was fucking scary. There was no reason, half of it's my fault because, no. I will not take responsibility for half of it. A tenth of it is my fault for not just stopping for gas in Indiana. I just wanted to keep going. And then when it got to the point where I was going to run out of gas, I was in the deep south side of Chicago. And I got off and went to this gas station where this lady was literally standing outside talking to herself the whole time. I was approached by 3 different people within 5 minutes, saying I'm broke and homeless. Sketchy people everywhere. Even the security guard inside the store was sketchy. He made me almost more nervous than... Well, I don't know. But I clearly got a look from him like, what in the hell are you doing here? Why are you here, white boy? And I was asking the same thing myself over and over again. Yeah, and I was on fumes. Like, it had said, my range had said dash for like 10, 15 miles already. So anywho, I go in there and I try to get gas, and all my cards are frozen. Well, actually, no, my bank card wasn't technically frozen, but I thought I had more money in there, and I kept trying to charge for more money than I had in the account, and so that's why that wasn't working. But my credit card, more importantly, was frozen, and I was just trying to fill up and get the hell out of there. And so because of that, I spent an hour at like 12:30 in the morning in the very deep, dark, scary. And I'll go all over Milwaukee in the worst parts, and never am I like, holy shit, I'm gonna die. Never once. But like the second I got out of that car in this neighborhood, I was like, oh my God, I fucked up real bad. I should not be here. And not to mention, I've got $5,000 worth of FPV equipment in my car. $5,000. I mean, I literally had close to $10,000 worth of shit in my car with all my camera gear, all my FPV gear. And I had barely slept and barely eaten for 3 days. So not to mention, I'm scared as hell. My brain is barely functioning because of that. I hadn't eaten or slept in 3 days, basically. I had already been on the road for a good 6 hours. Just chugging energy drinks in 5 hours and coffee and stopping and doing jumping jacks and just hanging on by the skin of my teeth. And then I end up in the deep south side of Chicago. And some poor girl in India got to meet a side of me that's maybe only surfaced once or twice in my entire life. Because I wasn't even remotely trying to be cordial. I was just... I mean, it's starting to get my blood pressure rising now just thinking about it. But I was literally like, you need to fucking make this fucking card right fucking now. I swear to fucking God, if I get killed because you assholes and freezing my card. And, oh, wow. And I'll give, I guarantee they will use that call for training purposes because she was calm and cool with me the whole time, and like, I don't know, she's either a really good actor or sincerely apologetic about me being stranded in the deep, deep, deep south side of Chicago. Whew, was fucking scary. And then, yeah, so I called, they assured me that the card would work. I went back, it did not work again. I called again. And this time I wasn't even trying to, oh, that's what it was. I got $10 to go in my gas tank off of my bank card. So that gave me enough gas to get out of that area. So, yeah, immediately back on the phone with them, trying to get, to make sure everything's working and whatnot. And then I get back on the freeway the wrong way, and a toll that I just paid $5 for to go through to get into that part of town, I had to go through again the wrong way, turn around and come back and go through it again. $15 I spent on that toll because my brain was fried, my adrenaline was through the, I mean, I legitimately almost started crying on the phone with this lady. Because I couldn't take it anymore. My hands were shaking. Never, ever in my life do I ever want to experience even half of that ever again, because it was the worst ever. The worst ever. The worst I've ever felt ever. Yeah, it was, whew. It was terrible. But, yeah, so I knew my card worked because when I had to go through the toll the second time, I had to use my damn credit card to pay for that toll. So, yeah, $15 on that toll. And, yeah, and then I got the hell out of there. And I got home at 3 o'clock in the morning. And, yeah, slept till, like, 9. Got up and just was super lazy the whole rest of the day. I haven't even looked at 90% of my footage. The only thing I couldn't not wait to look at was the DVR footage from when me and Jesse were tiny whooping in the club. And unfortunately, man, he called it. He said he doesn't think any of that footage is going to be any good. And he obviously knows the abilities of his tiny whoops, because unfortunately the video it's not great. I mean, it's still usable. I'll definitely use some of it. A lot of the it was best when they would turn on the floodlights and you could see the whole crowd and stuff like that. That stuff's good and usable, but a lot of the other stuff, it's just too dark and way too grainy. It won't be that great. Yeah, overall, MDX was amazing. The cave racing would have been awesome if I was just better. I screwed myself multiple times. Because I think my brain was so fried on Saturday for qualifying that one of the heats, because you only get 3, and one of them, I think I put the ground station footage into my AV out and not my AV in. So I lost video a second I got, anywhere behind anything. Video was gone. And then, yeah, I just had video issues. I switched quads. I switched from the Raceflight quad to my Betaflight quad. It's almost the exact same setup, except the Betaflight quad has bigger motors, and it's just faster. And I tried to go fast, and I screwed myself for flying a quad that I knew for a fact wouldn't perform well. Or no, that I didn't know for a fact if it would perform well. I flew it on the micro track, no problem, but I crashed a few times, and I think I'm having troubles remembering exactly what happened, but I believe that there must be video issues with that quad regardless, because I know for a fact the second heat I plugged in to the right AV in, and I still had video issues. And what I should have done for the third one is just went to the Raceflight one. Because if I went to the Raceflight one, it's slow, and I don't know if it's slow because it's not tuned properly, or if it's just, I don't know, it's got the Brother Hobby R4 motors on it, and it's just not as super fast. And I should have just stuck with that quad though, because the people who qualified weren't super fast. I mean, I probably would have only qualified, and that's about it. I would have never made it past further than that. But it would have been sweet to qualify, just to say, yeah, I qualified to at least get a chance to try to go to Mumbai. And the guy who won the intermediate level and is going to Mumbai has only been flying for 9 months. And I have only been flying for a little less than that. But I've been solely freestyle and whatnot, and have barely practiced racing. But yeah, I'm rambling on way far too long about stuff that, whatever. Sorry, my brain is still not fully recovered. I have fully not recovered. I'm gonna go home, sort through everything. All I did so far was just take all of my stuff out of Steve's stuff. But I left all his crap, just a fucking disaster. So I'm gonna go home and try to, be nice and clean his stuff up and make it somewhat presentable. And then at some point I'm gonna hit you up, Steve, because there's a few things that I would really like to borrow, like that Strix Tiny Whoop charger. That thing is the shit. It's the shit. It's so awesome being able to drive around and charge. And I don't know how active you're going to be in this Tiny Whoop season, but I'm going to try to be as active as I can possibly be. I already plan on going to Cedar Rapids for one of their Tiny Whoop races. That Tiny Whoop racer, Jesse Perkins, is 100%. It is by far the best Tiny Whoop there is. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have OSD. Yes, it can't do acro, and I don't care, because that thing hauls ass. It is insanely easy to fly. It's if I could make my 5 inches fly like the stable mode with that Tiny Whoop, I wouldn't fly acro. I wouldn't fly well, I don't know. But they may need to come up with a hybrid of like angle mode and the stock Conductrix FC stability mode, because it's beautiful. But I wouldn't be able to live without being able to do flips and rolls and stuff like that. But for racing, yeah, that would be awesome. So, yeah, the Tiny Whoop Racer is amazing. All right, fine, Horizon mode. Or is that the hybrid? I don't know. I know one of the modes lets you flip and roll and gives you stabilization, but nothing like with this stock Conductrix board. Oh shit, where was I going with that? Anywho, yeah, Tiny Whoopin', right, that's the hybrid, yep. I think I've flown in that mode like maybe one time. I have a feeling that wouldn't be that great in racing. I don't know. I'm sure racing, trying to race 5-inch quads in anything but acro would be super hard. I don't know. It took me quite a bit to get used to flying the Tiny Whoop Racer in the stability mode. Well, in the only mode it does. But once I kind of got the muscle memory back of like, oh yeah, that's right, that's how this thing flew, I was just tearing balls with it. It's so fun. I wish that asshole hadn't swatted it out of the sky as fast as they did at the club. Because yeah, I'm sure I've said this, but when we were flying at the club Saturday night, some guy swatted it out of the sky and immediately got stomped on. And somehow, all it did was destroy the frame and motors, and the board and the antenna and the camera and all that stuff was still perfectly fine. And then Sunday, the next day, Jesse gave me a new frame. Actually, gave me two frames. He gave me the stock cockroach frame with no fancy paint on it, and then he gave me one with Hypershift paint on it and props, and a new set of motors, and I was back up and flying in like 15 minutes. Another great thing about Tiny Whoops. Yeah, it's amazing. I can just scream around my apartment in it. It's so fun. It's so great. Oh, another thing that I forgot that basically was going to be the point of this whole damn video that has gone on for way too long already. I just went over to my son's daycare and flew the Tiny Whip Racer in the gymnasium around all the kids because I thought they would get a kick out of it, and they did. And this is what I was talking about with Jesse, is that I told him from the second I met him, I was like, you know, besides maybe like Trappy or I'd Be Crazy or some of the other innovators, I think Jesse Perkins has done more for FPV than anybody. Simply with the just getting the Tiny Whip out there. I mean, I know he claims that he's not the originator or the inventor, which I mean I know he isn't. But I have flown my 5-inch quads around people many times, and they're like, "Wow, that's cool," and what have you. And then I pull out the Tiny Whip, and they are like, "Oh my God, that is so cool!" And and those kids were just freaking out. They were losing their minds of how cool it was. And I bet if I did that with a 5-inch, they would have been terrified and would not want anything to do with it. They all probably would have ran and hid in the corner because they're loud and scary. And hell, man, I've been flying every day for 7 or 8 months or 6 months, something like that. I still get a tinge of nervousness every time I plug in because I watched it happen to Nurk, the one of the best pilots in the entire world who won MDX. His quad somehow self-armed in his hands, standing in a group of people right next to Joe Scully. It armed in his hands and went full bore. And it is amazing that he didn't lose any hands or fingers or face or anybody else. But yeah, it just somehow armed itself. I don't know if that might be something to say about Futaba. I don't know. I really like Race Flight's double arm thingy. It'd be a lot harder to accidentally arm in your hands with a double arm. Anywho, I'm getting off track again. Jesse Perkins has done more for FPV than anybody, as far as I'm concerned. As in getting the sport out there, in my opinion. I mean, he might not have done things for innovation or technology more than some people, but every time I pull out a Tiny Whoop, people lose their minds. They lose their minds. They think that's the greatest thing. Where can I get one? How do I get one? Can I try it? It's amazing. And I can't thank Jesse Perkins enough for the time I spent with him this weekend. It was life-changing, really. It was. I mean, I knew that I wasn't going to leave the cave without at least meeting him and maybe shaking his hand and telling him exactly what I just said. I never thought that I would literally be spending almost the whole weekend with him. I mean, the first day I only met him briefly and then was like, I can't wait to see you at the bar tonight to race Tiny Whoops with you. And then I asked him if, like, can I help? And he's like, yeah, sure, and I showed up basically like 40 minutes before he even got there, and I literally set up a track with him, and then I flew with him. I flew with Lunchbox and Provo. Jet was there. I keep forgetting his real name. Jordan, I think. Is Jet Jordan? Jordan Tunkett or whatever. Holy crap, there is a bald eagle. Wow. There's a bald eagle in Horicon, Wisconsin right there, folks. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it, but that is definitely a bald eagle. Look at that. Holy shit, that's a bald eagle. Wow. You're seeing it live here, folks. That is crazy. I did not know they got down this far. Huh. America! Wow. That is awesome. Thank God for you for live YouTube and stuff. He's just bombing around there too. He's got something in his sights. Ah, come on. Zoom back out. There we go. And I missed what... I love you can see the comments too. Sorry, I'm getting... Oh yeah, there we go. America! Alright, yeah, so... Try to wrap this up here. I have a ton of footage to go through. Just a ridiculous amount of DVR footage from all the tiny whooping. Because, yeah, Friday night we tried to do a tiny official tiny whoop race in the bar, but it just turned into a free fly immediately. Everybody was having too much fun just whipping around and whatnot. Got some... Oh, yeah, I didn't put it up on YouTube, but if anybody follows me on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, I had this sweet orbit video of orbiting around Jesse and almost getting eaten by Provo. Yeah, face punch Provo. I got to face punch one of the greatest pilots ever. Just unbelievable. Anywho, yeah, so Friday night was the race. Saturday night was the insane club flying experience. Did you get your... Yes, I did get props from from Prop Grinder. I got my props from Prop Grinder. And I never flew them, unfortunately. I forgot to fly them in the cave because I was just running ragged the whole time. Just trying to make sure that... I almost left. I thought I'd flown my three chances at qualifying. I had packed up and was leaving. And I still had one more heat left. Thankfully, because Jesse's sister, Kate, I was chair 5, she was chair 4. We were flying side by side the whole time. And as I'm leaving, she's like, "Are you not flying the last heat?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I thought we flew 3." And she's like, "No, we got one more guy." And so I was like, holy shit. And I had to run back to the race, unpack all my shit, and fly my last heat. And that's when I had the video issues again, and I picked up my quad and my FC was smoking. So yeah, that quad is down right now, and it's my fault. I should have just stuck with the Racefly quad. Slow as it is, I should have just stuck with it because I know it works, and I could have at least had a better chance of qualifying, even though it would have been tough, because I think you had to get like 7 laps for intermediate to qualify, which I would have just bet at the very limits of my ability. Yeah, so Saturday night was the club, and then Sunday we just whooped in the cave all day. And it was awesome. And then at like 3 o'clock, I was literally terrified to drive home, and it took me a good 45 minutes to psych myself up to like, you can do this, man. Just keep your eyes open, and everything will be good. And yeah, and I made it. It wasn't good, but I made it. And I'm here now, and I'm alive. And I'm going to go home and eat some food and start sifting through hours of footage and try to make something halfway decent out of them. Maybe just a couple of flight videos, maybe a vlog or 2. I don't know. Because right now I'm just trying to get my life back to normal. Also, I got this too. Come on, switch camera. Bam. Jesse P. Signed my my MDX badge. And signed my hat. And I got Bluegrass Multi-Rotor, signed my FPV show hat. And Lunchbox signed my hat. I didn't have the whereabouts or the balls to ask Provo or Jet because they seemed like they were very busy the whole time where I actually thought of people having signed my hat. Oh yeah, and I also signed after Jesse signed my Megadrone X badge, he asked me to sign his. So my autograph is on the back of Jesse Perkins' Megadrone X badge. So, was it as epic as Muncie probably would have been? No, but it definitely takes the sting out of not being able to not making it to Muncie. Yeah, it was amazing. Truly amazing. But as usual, I am starving, and I've got a lot of footage to sift through. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up, and we'll see you guys later. 25 minutes is insanely too long, and if you actually watched more than half of this, good on you, mate. But yeah, I'm out. We'll see you later.